Alright, let's take a look at the version 8 software. It's essentially the same system as the version 7. Hit evolve to start the simulation running, and it populates cells and we can loop. This does different things with the loop button and the expire button. It's got the same window that we can blow up and see what's going on in more detail and all of that. The big addition to this system was an audio button. So if we wait until we find something that seems like an interesting pattern, so let's throw in some more initial pins. So there's an interesting system. So I'll hit the audio button, and it's running in steps. It's creating a wave file. And the idea is, if you look at this plot of R and B, source and destination, picture it as an FFT plot. So frequency running across the x-axis and amplitude running along the y-axis. And what would it sound like if we played a tone with this frequency distribution? So this is a lot of low frequencies and a lot of high frequencies tapering off and not much in the middle. And so we can play these what-if experiments, and this is writing a file that's a wave file corresponding to whatever sounds that would correspond to. So on my system, it just writes that wave file to my desktop, and we can play that and hear what it sounds like. So it's just called sample.wave. And so it's not a particularly interesting sound in this case, but you can see the spectrum is similar to what we were seeing, high activity at the two ends of the frequency spectrum. But sometimes when you record these things, you get things that sound a lot more interesting. So for example, and I'm uploading some of these as well, but for example, if we come down to audio, these are just some that some outputs that I recorded. And so the change in tones here, so those are actually what you find in the spectrum of the tube concentrations, but the sort of coolness of the sound, the way it steps, might be a red herring, because the tubes are discretized. There's only 320 tubes from x equals 0 to x equals 40, and so when a lot of chemical is transferred from one tube to another, you're going to get this discrete leap in frequency. And it sounds kind of cool, like it's playing a scale or something, but I think it's just an artifact of the discretization. I think if the tubes were much smaller in diameter and more plentiful, then you would hear simply a sliding in the frequency as opposed to those steps. But it would be interesting, I think, to hear what that change in frequency actually sounded like. So that audio option is available on version 8. I'm hoping to eventually build a new version of this software that basically takes all the different versions, the evolvable stuff, the audio stuff, the snapshotting, and it exposes it all through a series of control panels, or at least configuration files, so that without changing the code, one can run experiments on all these different variations, and then go into the code when you want to add new experiments or new features. But that's my ultimate hope, but we'll see if we get there. Alright, thanks.